Hello everybody, welcome back. Today we are going to show just a different way of applying like logos to a model uh, in Blender for Flight Simulator or basically whatever you're working on. Now, I am not a graphics artist. I am not a Blender expert. I just play one on television. Anyway, dry humor. All right, so what we got here is now, this is a very complex model, or it's in the process of being. So if the techniques work for this model, they will work for just about any scenery object that you want to apply logos and overlays on without having to use the texture painting and doing the stenciling. Sometimes stenciling does a fantastic job. Most of you guys that are painting aircraft and stuff use stenciling and you do it flawlessly. But there are some of us that stenciling just doesn't do it for us, okay? So I found that many of my models that applying logos and things on my models, that this particular method works best for me. Now, there are some cautions to it, and I'll try to bring those up as I'm doing this. Now, you're going to see some goofy things, especially on this model, because this model is polygon intensive. This isn't really going to be for scenery or anything. It's too complex for scenery. But what we're going to do is we're going to apply two logos to this model. All right, we have a Boeing 777-200, and it's an older generation. All right, you can tell by how I have the cutouts for all of the control surfaces. All right, the 777X actually doesn't have the configuration of the wing is totally different. It's a brand new wing. It's actually a wing of a 787. So no longer with the 777 is the gigantic main flap system. Okay, it's, I hate to use the word, but it's more in line with what Airbus does with their flaps. Okay, but on the older model, this flap was as big as a house. I mean, it's huge. But anyway, I digress. I'm sorry. All right, so what we're doing is I want to apply a GE logo to the GE90 engine. And I also want to put the house aircraft logo for Boeing on the side, just so you see how I do it. Now, remember, for models that don't have as high as a poly count as this model does, this method works fantastic. With this many polygons, there's a few little things that I have to do to it, and you'll see as I'm doing it. But the same process will apply to simple models, okay? So here we go. I just want to show you something with complex so you can see that it's going to work better even with simple models. That's basically what I'm trying to tell you. All right, so anyway, this aircraft has a lot of different modifiers applied to it, all right? So if I come in here to this engine cowling, and I got it selected. Whoops, now I have it selected. If I go into the modifiers in Blender, you can see I got a mirror modifier on there, I got a subdivision modifier, and my subdivisions are up to level 5, so you know there's a lot of polygons in there. And I also have a solidify modifier. Now, you're going to want to get rid of some of those for this process, but I'll show you when to get rid of them. All right, so anyway, we're going to put a GE logo on the side of this engine. So what I want to do is, I need the polygons that where the logo is going on. Okay, is that right? Yeah. All right. So let's go into edit mode, and I'm going to turn off X-ray, and let's get a front view of this aircraft so we can see it in 2D. One, I'll talk about it later. I'm sorry, I was getting ready to say something and it'd throw us all off. All right, so these 6 polygons is where I actually want the logo. So I'm going to select those 6, and I'm going to hit a Shift D to copy those, hit Escape so I don't move them. Okay, now I hit the P to create a new object based on that selection. So I click on selection. It's curved like this because I have the subdivision modifier on, but you want to keep that. Okay, because you want it nice and smooth. Okay, so now if you look over here in the tree, I now have engine cowling .001. We're gonna get out of edit mode by hitting tab again, and then I'm gonna double click on this, and I'm gonna rename engine cowling .001 to engine cowling logo. Okay, so this is a separate object. If I turn this off, you can still see the engine cowling behind it because I made a copy, then I created a new selection. I didn't select the polygons and then create a new selection, because then you lose what's underneath where this logo is going. Okay, so make sure that it's a separate object in itself. All right, so you can kind of see the ghost image right behind here. All right, so with those 6 polygons now selected, go back into edit mode. So there's our original, and if I turn those off, our original engine cowling is still there. Okay, so it's only a copy of those 6. Now, in order for this next process to work properly, if you have modifiers, subsurface modifiers turned on, but you have not applied them yet, this is the time to apply them. Okay, now this engine cowling has, oh my goodness sakes, thousands of polygons, because I have the subdivision set so high. Okay, but I never intended this to be inside the simulator. All right, if it was scenery, I can get away with less smoothness. This is just for me. This model is just for me to, I use this to really try to fine-tune my skills using Blender. Okay, so anyway, I'm not an expert. I'm not the best in the world. I know that. Okay, I'm just an old guy sitting in his office making free stuff for Flight Simulator. All right, so anyway, I digress. I digress a lot, as my wife would say. I paint. Okay, I paint my conversations. Okay, so anyway, we have the 6 polygons that we want to apply our logo to. Now the only thing is we need to apply the subdivision modifier to this model. Okay, so let's get out of edit mode, make sure that our logo polygons are selected, and go ahead and apply that subdivision modifier. Okay, so now when I go back into edit mode, you're going to see how many polygons that those original 6 were actually made of because of the subdivisions. Yeah, hundreds of them. And I would pretty say that's probably close to 1,000 polygons. Okay, so this video's, yeah, okay, you wouldn't do this. Okay, simple models, you'd be better off. All right, so anyway, I also want to get out of edit mode here for a second. I also want to get rid of the solidify modifier. You don't need it. You only need the outside skin. You don't need any three-dimensional for for this logo, you don't need the thickness of the aluminum, okay, on this cowling. All right, so we're going to just get rid of this, whoops. Yeah, we're just going to get rid of that solidify modifier, okay? So now all those little polygons don't have a thickness to them, all right? That's unnecessary polygons, okay? But I do have the mirror on. Now, be careful when you have a mirror modifier on, because what you apply to one side will be mirrored or reversed on the other side. So usually I don't do this step on my painting, applying logos and stuff, until I'm completely finished with my model. This model is not finished. I got a long way to go. But when you're going to apply all your logos and words and things like that, you want to make sure that you're completely done so you can apply all your modifiers before you do any of this. Because if I paint the logo on this cowling, it will be a mirror image on the other side, and we don't want that. We want it to be the same, relatively speaking, on both sides of the aircraft, right? All right, if I'm digressing again. All right, so anyway, so we've selected those 6 polygons, and then we applied the subsurface modifier, and we got rid of the solidified modifier. Now it's time to apply the logo to just this part, okay? And how you do that, the quality of the logo or whatever you're doing is going to be, the quality of it is going to be dependent on the actual image that you're using for the logo, right? That's understandable. So if you have a very pixelated logo, it's going to look pixelated on your model as well. So try to create the best logo possible, or download the best logo that you can for the quality. Sorry. Let me show you what I did. I don't use Photoshop because I can't afford it. All right. I use Krita, K-R-I-T-A. Krita is open source, which means free. Open source is always good. But this is the free version of Photoshop. It may not have everything that Photoshop has, but I tell you what, for what I do, I don't need all that other stuff. But this is Krita. It's free, so go to krita.org or krita.com and download it. But it does just about 99% of what Photoshop does, okay? And you don't have to spend any money. Anyway, I got a GE logo, and I created a project, and I scaled it up to be, so I have an image size of 4096 by 4096, which is 4K, and I saved that out as a PNG. I did some painting because my original one was black. That's the way that I like to bring in logos and stuff. That way I can color them nice and crisp. All right, so I've created this PNG of the GE logo, and we're gonna place that on our aircraft. Now, what we're gonna do is gonna come down here to our materials in Blender. Right now I have royal blue as the background color, but we don't want the background color of the polygons that we're applying our logo to, right? So let's go ahead and get rid of that and turn it in white. Now, yeah, you're gonna see some interference, but don't let this bother you right now, okay? Because this, like I said, there's thousands of polygons inside of here, and this engine cowling hasn't had its subsurface modifier applied yet, all right? So there's some interference here, but we're going to take care of that, and we're going to take care of it in a way that you won't even notice, okay? All right, so we got rid of our original texture that we had for our cowling, and we're going to create a new one, and we're going to call this one GE logo. All right. And then we're going to come down here to the bottom into the material editor, and we're going to look at material mode, and we're going to if you have the Microsoft Flight Simulator plugin for Blender, you're going to have this, okay, which is Blender to MSFS. All right, and you can find that on the GitHub and download it. And anyway, that's not what this video is about, but you have to have that plugin. So you got the MSFS standard. We're going to select that, and we're going to come down and we're going to open our logo file. Okay, so I'm going to come up here and I have it in my projects textures folder, and I have the PNG that I saved, my GE logo right here, and we're going to open that image. Okay, now it brings it in, but don't worry because it's incorrect right now. We haven't done we have to go into UV editing. We need to select all those polygons. I'm going to zoom so you can see, and notice how many polygons there are. Okay, so let's select all those polygons and let's scale them up a little bit so we can kind of see how our logo is appearing right here. Okay, so you can see the GE logo. Right now it's tiling because my polygons, all those polygons, are larger than the 4K square for the actual logo itself. Plus I need to rotate it. So we're gonna rotate these. I can't remember which direction I need to go. I need to go in the positive direction. All right, so we're gonna go 90 degrees. All right, so there's the G and there is the E. Okay, and we're gonna bring this down. I'm gonna move this down in the Y direction. Oops, I need to turn off snapping here. Turn this down, and we're gonna move these polygons. Now, the less complex your model is, the easier all of this little adjusting is gonna be. So since this is these are polygons on steroids, there's a little bit more adjustment that I have to do. All right, so we're going to scale this in the Y direction, so we're inside our box. You can see the bounding box of our 4K image. Okay, your polygons need to fit inside that square, or you'll get, if you don't, you'll get tiling like this, because this portion of all those polygons is right here and it likes to tile your textures. Okay, so we're making sure that all these polygons are inside this box. All right, so that's what we're doing here. So I'm gonna move this down a little bit more. I'm hitting Shift key to fine tune my selection. Do I have KeyCast on? I don't think I do. Yeah, now I got KeyCast on. All right, got KeyCast on. All right, so let's scale this in the Y. Bring those polygons up. Now, I'm not going to get this perfect for this video, but I just want you to get the idea. Okay, so we're inside the box in the Y-axis. Now I need to scale it in the X-axis. And I'm holding my Shift key to fine-tune my mouse movement. I'm going to move this in the X direction now and get it right there. And then I'm going to scale it one more time so we're pretty close here. All right, so if I look over here, I have one GE circle in the box. Don't worry that it is more of an oval shape than round right now. We're going to take care of that later. All right, now what I do want you to see, we're going to go back out to layout here real quick. Notice that the logo has a black, all the white is black. All right, let's look at the original image here in Krita. So I have blue, but all my other colors I have set at transparent, okay? Because I'm gonna have a white background, so it's gonna fill in the GE white. Matter of fact, when you have a white aircraft, when they're painting the aircraft, if you're all the pieces of the logo that are white, they don't paint because the aircraft is white. They only paint the blue, right? So that's what we're kind of doing here. But you'll notice that outside of that circle is also transparent. So when you bring in an image, the alpha channel that does the mask is going to show up black, all right? So what we need to do is we need to tell Blender that this is transparent and not opaque, all right? So over here in our material editor where we selected our image down in the texture maps for the Microsoft Flight Simulator Standard, okay? Scroll on down a little bit further until you get to render parameters and change opaque to blend. Now the black is transparent. All right, now don't worry about this interference, okay? Like I said before, all those subsurface modifiers in this complex model makes this happen, all right? For basic scenery, you're not going to have this problem because you're not going to have as many polygons in your object, okay? But we're gonna fix that. All right, we're gonna fix that. Don't worry about it. Okay, so let's go back into UV editing again. Oh no, let's go back out to layout and let's fix one other thing so we can see our logo a little better. Let's click on our engine, our original engine cowling, which is up above our logo cowling, which is right here. This is our engine cowling, and we're going to go up to its material, which are royal blue, and we're going to get rid of that. We're going to use just the default white. Okay, now what I could do is I can come in here and I can create a new material and call it white shiny or something like that. All right, and then come down here and decrease our roughness so that white shines. See, now we're getting shiny, right? So it looks like nice glossy white paint now. Okay, so now we have that done. All right, let's go back to our GE logo and fix some things. All right, so let's go back into UV editing and notice that, remember, this is more of an oval shape. All right, since we can't get rid of the oval in the actual image UV, all right, without going outside of those bounds of the box. And remember, if we go outside of the bounds of the box, we start getting the side in the tiling effect, right? So what we want to do now is actually change the orientation of the actual polygons, okay? But we're not affecting the original cowling because these are copies of those polygons, right? Okay, so with all these polygons still selected, instead of scaling in the UV area, let's scale in the actual model area itself. So I'm going to scale in the X direction until that circle becomes a circle and not an oval. Okay, so I scaled these polygons, okay, but I did not affect the original cowling polygons, right? So let's go into layout and see how that looks. So it's looking more like a circle. I could probably fix that a little bit more. So over here in the model side, we're going to continue to scale the X until we get more of a circle. Okay, so I have that, and that looks a lot better. Okay, you can be as particular as you want. Now here's the other trick. Since I have interference right here, all that's saying that is those original 6 polygons are interfering with the polygons of the cowling. Simple process to take care of that is to scale the logo one more time and just bring it out until it no longer interferes. So I'm going to hit in my layout, I'm going to, with the logo polygon selected, I'm going to hit the scale and I'm going to hold my shift button and I'm just going to move that out until that interference goes away and then click my mouse button. Now, we've moved those polygons away from the cowling of the engine a little bit, but it is so small you won't notice it when for your paint job. See, we can't even notice that I pulled these polygons out from the cowling a little bit. Okay, we're so close. All we did was eliminate this interference. Okay, that's all we did. All right. Now I'll show you what happens when you have, like I said, why you need to wait until you're completely done with your model before you start doing this kind of stuff. Because remember, I have this mirror modifier on for the engine cowling. Well, if I turn over here, my GE is backwards on the other side because it's mirroring it. So what I would end up doing is I would have these, on my final model, I'd have these 6 polygons selected and I would name those cowling left. And then I would do the same thing over here, copy these 6 and call them cowling right. Okay? But once I got, then you can select them both and do all your scaling at the same time so they're both the same size, but you won't have the image backwards on the other side. All right? All right, so that is our GE logo on our cowling. All right, now let's come over here to the fuselage and go into edit mode and figure out where we want the Boeing logo to be on our aircraft. And let's say, it's not the exact location, but let's say that these 6 polygons right here are where the Boeing logo goes on the aircraft. All right, so just like we did with our engine cowling, we're going to Shift D to copy those polygons, hit escape so you don't move them, and then hit P to make a copy to a new selection. Same kind of thing goes on. All right, so over in our table of contents we have fuselage and then we have fuselage 001. 001 is where our logo's going. So we're going to call this one fuselage logo. And just like we did with our cowling, we need to apply, let's get out of edit mode because we're on the fuselage right now, and select our fuselage logo. But just like our cowling polygons, we need to apply the subdivision modifiers depending on what you have. Okay, and this is also mirrored because it's not done yet, but we're not going to worry about applying the mirror right now. So apply the subdivision modifier so you get all the polygons that make up this fuselage. Okay, now let's go into front mode by hitting tilde-F, and we are going to zoom into where that logo is. All right, and we're going to go into edit mode and notice, yeah, there is a lot of polygons, but don't worry about that, it's the same thing. All right, so let's kind of zoom in. Now we are going to use the same method we did before. We're going to go into UV editing I'm going to hit A and period so we focus in on the area that we're working. And we are going to create we're going to use Smart UV Project to create we're going to unwrap it, let it do the math for us. So now we have all these polygons, okay? And now we're going to go get our image. So we need to come to materials, and we know that I have the chromate as my texture, but I don't want it on the logo. So I'm going to get rid of it on the logo. And there's that interference kind of stuff. But again, on a complex model like this is when it's going to show up. On your simple models, this shouldn't be an issue, okay? I'm going to create a new material, and we're going to call this the side logo. And then we're going to come down to the MSFS materials parameters. In material mode, we're going to change this over to standard. And then you're going to go get your logo that you want. So I'm going to open, and I am going to go to my textures, and I'm going to come down and find the logo that I want, and I called it Boeing Logo Aircraft Side .png. Open up that logo, and yeah, it looks so goofy, and it's going to look even goofier here in a second. We need to rotate it. So over here on the UV side, hit A to select all the polygons, R to rotate, and I think I go in the negative direction this time. So we're going to go negative 90. Okay? Yeah, it looks like crap because we are tiling. We don't want it to tile, but don't worry about that. We're going to fix that. So over here on the UV side, we're going to move it in the X direction by hitting GX, and we're going to move it inside of our logo box. Okay? Oops. Let's move in a little bit, and we can even scale it in the X a little bit to make sure that we're inside of that 4K box. GX to move it to the right a little bit. Doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to take care of that in another means. Okay, now notice we got most of the bowing here in the X direction, but we don't have the bowing in the Y direction. So we need to scale our polygons in the UV. So SY to scale in the Y, and let's open that out a little bit just so we get the bowing to show up completely inside of our logo over here. Okay, now we could scale it one more time in the X so we can get that registration circle on the end right there with the R in it right here. Okay, so now that we have that, let's go to layout mode and see how it looks. So yeah, all right, so yeah, that fits inside there, and we will have to move it out just a tad because of the interference with the fuselage behind it. Okay, but we're going to take that here in a second. Now remember why it's black. It's because this is the alpha channel coming over from the image, and transparent in the alpha is black, okay? Opaque is white. So what we need to do is tell Blender that we need to get rid of the black part of the alpha channel. So in the UV editor, again, come over to your material mode for your MSFS standard, and just kind of go down again to the render parameters and change opaque to blend. And now the black goes away. So let's go to layout mode. Now our black goes away, right? Okay, so now we're going to get rid of the interference. And getting rid of the interference, just like we did on the cowling, with our logo polygon selected, and I'm not in edit mode now, I'm just in object mode. I'm gonna hit S to scale, hold down my shift key, and just kind of move it a little bit until all that interference goes away, just slightly, and then click your left mouse button. All right. Whew. Yeah, so there's our logo. Like I said, you will not notice this when you're zoomed in on your models because we just moved it out so slightly, right? Okay, now the Boeing logo doesn't look all that great on the chromate. The chromate is to keep during production, to keep my aluminum from anodizing. Is that the word? Oxidizing. Okay. So anyway, let's see what it would look like. See what our logo would look like on top of our royal blue. So let's select our fuselage in this case. Go to materials over here and get rid of chromate. This is our primer color, so to speak, and come to find where's our royal blue, right there. Click that, paint our aircraft really quick, and we have that nice looking Boeing symbol on there. Okay, and like I said, when you zoom in, you can't tell that we actually took those polygons and brought those out a little bit so they didn't interfere. Okay, so this is, I know, probably a long video, I'm sorry, but try this technique. Instead of stenciling, take the polygons of whatever words or logo that you're trying to put on your object, airplane, car, truck, building, whatever, and use this method and see if this works better for you. Okay, most likely it will. Now, if you're doing animations and all that kind of stuff, you need to make sure, you need to remember that if you're going to move this engine cowling, you need to move those polygons that logo is on as well. Okay, because they're a separate object. If you use texture painting and stenciling, when you move, in this case, the engine cowling, the logo would go along with it. So there are advantages to texture painting and the stenciling, but some people are just having some difficulty with the stencil process. So using the method I just showed you, I think you're going to get some pretty good results. Okay. Now what I'm going to show you is I'm going to close this out, and I am not going to save this. Okay. Oh yeah, I am. Save. Okay, so I saved it since it's my video version. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to a recently opened project, and I'm going to open up my Stearman C2B. Okay, let it catch up on some stuff here. This will go away. Okay, there we go. If we look at the Varney airline, okay, the Varney airline is a copy of the polygons in this area, and I had zero interference like I did with the cowling. All right, zero, but there's not very many polygons. If I go into edit mode, see, it's only these 8 polygons. Okay, the subdivision modifier on this particular model, this is scenery for Flight Simulator, so I didn't use all these subdivision modifiers. The only subdivision modifiers that I used on this Stearman is this portion up here around the cockpits of the airplane, okay, because the aluminum back in that time was bent a lot tighter. Here, this is fabric, all right, so these polygons were to look like it was going along the ribs. Okay, so all the painting on this model is not stencil. This is not texture paint. This is with using the method that I used before. All right. So the numbers on the aircraft, okay, that's just this particular side of the vertical stabilizer. Okay, I mean horizontal, yeah, vertical stabilizer. So I made a left and right and applied the image to. Same way with the wing, with the exception is the wing has those little dips in the fabric, okay? But if I select the area where that logo is, notice that's just a copy. That's just a copy of what's underneath. Let me move it so you can see. See? That's just a copy of the polygons in that particular area of that wing. All right? But I made my nice numbers in Krita, save that as a PNG file, and then when I applied the texture to these polygons, I just blended the render parameters instead of opaque to get rid of the alpha channel. Okay, all right, so hit escape so that doesn't move on me. All right, so using this method, I think that you're going to be satisfied with a lot of the painting that you do on your aircraft without having to go in and learn how to do the texture paint and stenciling. Some of the oil leaks on there, it's the exact same process. And the cool thing is, show you here real quick, let me zoom in, where, see the rivets in this area? The lines and the rivets, that is a PNG file, and I selected these polygons of the fuselage, made them separate, and I applied the texture to those polygons, and then used that blending method that I've been showing you to paint on top of the fuselage here. Now, here's the cool thing is you can have, it doesn't matter, you can have a different texture for your fuselage or your building. Let's say this was a building and you had ribbed corrugated steel sided building and you wanted to apply the words to the building, same method, and you don't lose the texture that's underneath, because this texture right here with all the rivets and stuff, it's kind of acting like a decal on top. So just play around with this method, see if it helps. Leave some comments. I know this is unconventional way of doing things, but leave comments below on how you take care of this situation that you're having. Hopefully this method works for a lot of you. If you have any questions, post them in the comments and I will get back to you on those as fast as I can. And if you are so inclined, please subscribe to My Physical World for more videos. Hit the bell, hit the bell for notifications and comment and share the video and all that kind of stuff. I do also have a Buy Me a Coffee account for My Physical World and a Patreon account for My Physical World. So if you feel inclined to support my work, please do. If not, that's okay. I totally understand. Hey, I hope this video helps in your models for Flight Simulator or whatever application you're doing your modeling. And I will see you later. Thanks for coming. We'll talk to you later.